The galaxy was quiet. Too quiet. Not a single human ship had been seen in the outer systems for decades. The alien races, who called themselves the Galactic Empire, believed the humans were weak, scattered, and nearly extinct. They had studied Earth's history, laughed at the humans' small colonies, and dismissed them as insignificant. But arrogance, the elders of the Empire knew, often led to unexpected consequences. On the bridge of the Empire's flagship, Admiral Velis watched the stars pass by on the view screen. His fingers tapped nervously on the control panel. "It's been over 70 standard cycles since the last human fleet contact," he said. His voice was steady, but a flicker of unease lingered in his tone. "Do you think they can even fight back?" "Impossible," said Commander Relin, standing beside him. "Their colonies are isolated. They have no unified command. They are a dying species. Every battle report confirms this." Velis nodded slowly, but he could not shake a strange feeling gnawing at the edges of his mind. Humans were unpredictable. That unpredictability had been recorded countless times in history. Still, he told himself it was only a fear of the unknown. Then it came. A sudden transmission, piercing through the Empire's secure channels, untraceable, but undeniably human. The entire bridge froze. The screen flickered, and for a brief moment, no one breathed. The words appeared in simple English, written across the view panel in glowing white letters. "You declared war. Now we'll show you why that was a mistake." The silence that followed was deafening. Not a single sound broke it, except for the faint hum of the flagship's engines. Admirals, commanders, and officers stared at the message as if it had physically struck them. Some laughed nervously, thinking it a trick. Others swore softly, feeling the icy chill of fear snake through their bones. Velis pressed a button, trying to analyze the transmission. "Is this a warning? Or a threat?" he whispered. Though he already feared the answer, the words did not carry the arrogance of a weak species. They carried certainty, confidence, something the Empire had not expected from humans, who had been regarded as insignificant for generations. Commander Relin shook his head. "It can't be serious. They don't have fleets capable of challenging us. Earth is a backwater world. Their colonies barely hold together. They are expendable." Yet the unease remained. Velis stared at the screen, thinking of Earth, the planet of myth and rumor, of stories older than even the oldest ships in the Empire. Humans were known to fight when pushed to the edge, but this was different. This message did not come from a cornered colony. This message came from human command itself. Whoever sent it had the full weight of their people behind them. Whoever sent it was ready. Somewhere across the galaxy, in hidden star systems and forgotten moons, humanity had been waiting. Waiting for this exact moment. Waiting for the Empire to make the first mistake. Waiting to prove that the stories of their weakness were lies told by those too blind to see the truth. Velis felt the first tremors of panic. He looked around the bridge at his officers, at their confident faces, and he realized they were all pretending. Pretending that this warning was meaningless. Pretending that humans were still weak. But, deep down he could sense it. The instinct, the memory of history. The undeniable truth that humans were different. He pressed another button to record the message for analysis. "Send it to the High Council immediately," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "We need to know what this means. All fleets in the outer systems, prepare for possible engagement." "This is unusual." Relin frowned. "Unusual, Admiral. They are human. They are weak. There is no need to prepare for a fleet that doesn't exist." Velis shook his head slowly. "Do you really believe that after centuries of ignoring them, after underestimating them at every turn, they would send us a message like this without reason?" Relin had no answer. The transmission ended as suddenly as it had begun, leaving only an empty screen and a quiet that felt heavier than the vacuum of space itself. The words echoed in Velis's mind over and over. "You declared war. Now we'll show you why that was a mistake." In that moment he understood something important, something the Empire had never fully grasped. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not insignificant. Humanity was dangerous. And this war, which the Empire had started thinking it would be simple, was about to become a nightmare unlike anything they had ever faced. The stars outside the flagship seemed to shift. A storm was coming, and this time it carried human fury. The Empire still believed they were safe. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans could never fight back. That arrogance was their greatest mistake. Admiral Velis sat in his private quarters, staring at the stars through the massive viewport. He had seen countless battles. He had faced fierce species, powerful fleets, and terrifying weapons. But the message from human command stayed in his mind, haunting him. You declared war. Now we'll show you why that was a mistake. How could a species that seemed so small, so divided, so unprepared send a warning that shook the Empire to its core? Velis could not stop asking himself that question. Across the galaxy, other alien leaders were whispering the same thing. Humans, they said. They are nothing. They cannot survive the storms of space. Their colonies are weak, scattered. And yet, a strange fear lingered in their voices, a fear they refused to admit. The truth was simple. The Empire had never understood humans. They had studied humans' history as if it were a storybook, reading only the victories and ignoring the struggles. They ignored how humans survived plagues, wars, and natural disasters on their homeworld. They ignored how humans endured famine, disease, and betrayal, yet rose again stronger each time. They ignored how humans fought to the last breath to protect their homes, their families, and their freedom. The Empire believed that logic, strategy, and technology were enough to win any war. But humans did not fight like other species. Humans fought with something the Empire could not measure. Humans fought with hope. Humans fought with courage. Humans fought with heart. Back on Earth, in a hidden command center buried beneath a barren mountain, human command prepared quietly. No one spoke loudly. No one panicked. Every movement, every order, was precise, practiced, and controlled. They had known this day would come. They had waited for the moment the Empire would strike. And now they were ready. Commander Alara stood over a holographic map of the galaxy, her eyes scanning every fleet position of the Empire. Her hands moved, quickly, placing markers on ships, tracing possible attack routes, calculating risk. Beside her, her second-in-command whispered, "Do you really think we can defeat them? They outnumber us 10-1. Ilara did not answer immediately. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with determination. "It is not about numbers," she said finally. "It is about who we are. We survive when we are underestimated. We fight when they believe we cannot. That is what they do not understand. That is our advantage." She paused, looking at the young officers around her. Many were terrified. Many had never seen the front lines, but all trusted her completely. "We will show them," she said softly, but every word carried fire. "We will show them why humans are never a species to underestimate." Meanwhile, in the Empire's outer sectors, scouts reported strange movements. Fleets that had been hidden for decades suddenly appeared, cutting across star systems like shadows in the night. Reports of human weapon prototypes once thought dismantled began to surface. The aliens could not understand it. How could humans have so much prepared, so well hidden, for a war no one expected? Fear began to spread among the Empire's officers. They called humans illogical, reckless, insane, but deep down they knew the truth. Humans were something else entirely. They were dangerous. Velis felt the weight of that danger pressing down on him. For the first time, he understood that war with humans would not be like any other war he had fought. The humans would not retreat. They would not surrender. They would not negotiate. They would fight. And when humans fought, they did so with everything they had, with every ounce of strength, cunning, and heart. The Empire thought they were hunting humans like prey. They thought it would be easy, simple, and fast. They had no idea that the prey they mocked had claws sharp enough to tear through the strongest armor. And in the quiet of space, as the stars stretched endlessly before him, Velis whispered to himself, a chill running down his spine, "We underestimated them. We always underestimate them. And now, we will pay the price. Somewhere deep in the galaxy, hidden and silent, humanity prepared. Their hearts were steady, their minds sharp. The Empire had declared war, and humanity was ready to answer. The galaxy believed humans were simple, fragile, and disorganized. The Empire thought they could destroy a few colonies, and the species would crumble. But they were wrong. Humans had secrets, hidden in plain sight, buried beneath dead planets, in abandoned moons and forgotten asteroid fields, lay humanity's most powerful weapons. No alien had ever seen them. No alien had ever imagined them. The Empire had counted human ships, studied their fleets, measured their resources, and concluded, incorrectly, that humans were defenseless. They had not counted human patience, human ingenuity, or human will. They had not seen the armories that no scanner could detect. Commander Alara walked through the dim corridors of a secret moon base. The walls hummed with the energy of advanced technology, long forgotten by other species. Every corridor, every chamber held vessels and weapons so powerful that even the largest fleets of the Empire would shudder at their sight. Human engineers had worked in silence, perfecting designs, building prototypes that no one outside their species would ever understand. She stopped in front of one massive vessel. Its hull was dark, angular, and bristling with hidden weapons. It had never been listed in any official registry. No record existed of its creation. Only a few humans knew its full potential. Ilara ran her hand across the hull, feeling the vibrations of the ship's power core. "They will see us," she whispered softly, "and they will regret it." Around her, officers and engineers moved with quiet precision. They had trained for this moment for years. Every protocol, every simulation, every drill had been designed to prepare them for the day the Empire believed they were weak. And now, that day had come. In another hidden base on a distant moon, Lieutenant Haroon activated a massive array of weapons. The screens showed fleets of the Empire moving across space, unaware that humans had been waiting for them. Haroon smiled grimly. "They think they are hunting us," he said. "They don't know they are walking into a trap. These weapons were not just machines. They were symbols of humanity's resilience. Each ship, each cannon, each defense system was built to remind the galaxy that humans did not surrender. Humans survived. Humans adapted. Humans fought back even when the odds were impossible. The Empire had studied human history. They knew humans fought wars. They knew humans survived famine and disease. They thought that was all. They did not realize that humans had learned from every defeat, every disaster, and every betrayal. Every failure had made them stronger, smarter, deadlier. Ilara turned to her officers, her eyes burning with determination. "They underestimated us," she said. "They counted our numbers, but they did not count our courage. They counted our ships, but they did not count our resolve. They counted our history, but they forgot one truth: humans never give up." Her words spread through the room like fire. Engineers straightened, soldiers adjusted their armor, pilots ran final checks on their ships. The quiet fear that had lingered was replaced by energy, a focused determination that could not be broken. Across the Empire's vast territory, scouts reported strange phenomena. Shadows in the void, sudden bursts of energy, and unexplained movements that did not match human fleet records. Commanders dismissed these reports at first. They assumed they were minor errors, glitches, or exaggerations. They could not imagine the truth, that humans had hidden an entire arsenal unseen and unmeasured for decades. And now, those weapons were awake. Now humanity would rise like a storm the Empire could not predict. Every hidden vessel, every secret cannon, every dormant fleet was ready to strike. And when it did, the Empire would see not just humans fighting, but humans surviving, thriving, and destroying anything in their path to protect their homes. Ilara stood on the observation deck of the central base, watching the stars stretch into infinity. The human armories were ready. The Empire had declared war, and humanity was no longer hiding. The galaxy had underestimated humans for the last time. If you want, I can write part 4 next, which will show the first. The Empire believed the humans were running, hiding and waiting to be destroyed. They thought the humans would retreat at the first sign of fire. They thought the humans would beg for mercy. They were wrong. The first strike came like a whisper at first, almost unnoticed. In a remote system on the edge of known space, the Empire had sent a fleet of 100 warships to crush what they thought was a small human outpost. The fleet moved confidently, lasers ready, shields active, and their minds full of arrogance. Victory was assumed before battle even began, but human ships had already waited in the shadows. They did not charge blindly. They did not waste energy on theatrics. Every ship moved with precision, every weapon ready, every captain knowing exactly what to do. They struck not as scattered colonies, but as a unified force. The Empire's fleet never saw them coming. Explosions lit up the void. The Empire's sensors screamed as shields melted under fire they could not understand. Their ships, powerful and heavily armed, were torn apart by weapons designed for speed, precision, and human ingenuity. Hulls that had never feared damage now collapsed in a flash of light and fire. In the Empire's flagship, Admiral Velis watched in disbelief. "Impossible," he whispered, staring at the screen. "They cannot have this much firepower. They shouldn't exist." The message from Human Command echoed again in his mind, and suddenly it made sense. "You declared war. Now we'll show you why that was a mistake." The humans fought differently than any species the Empire had ever faced. They did not just attack. They adapted mid-battle, learning the patterns of their enemies, predicting their moves, and countering with a speed no machine could calculate. One human ship would dive through a gap in the fleet, another would flank, and yet another would strike a critical engine. Every attack was coordinated, every movement precise. The Empire had underestimated strategy, ingenuity, and determination, all human strengths. Back on Earth, in hidden command centers, the humans watched the battle unfold. Commander Alara's eyes never left the displays. Her face was calm, but inside her heart raced with pride. "Hold the line," she said. "Push forward. This is only the beginning." Pilots shouted over the comms, voices tense but steady. "We've got another cruiser down, but the enemy is breaking formation. Their flagship is exposed." Every human ship acted with focus, courage, and a kind of fury, born from generations of survival. By the time the battle ended, the Empire's fleet was destroyed. Fragments of their ships floated through space like broken stars. Human losses were minimal, carefully calculated, almost surgical. The Empire expected to teach humans a lesson, but the lesson had been taught to them instead. Admiral Velis could not speak. His fleet, once confident and proud, was gone. The Empire had underestimated humans, and now they had paid the price. Across the galaxy, commanders whispered in fear. The humans had proven one thing: they were not weak. They were not insignificant. They were deadly. In the silence that followed, Human Command sent another short message, simple and clear. "You thought we would run. You were wrong." Alara allowed herself a small smile. The battle was won, but the war had only begun. Humanity had shown the galaxy that they could fight, that they could survive, that they could rise against overwhelming odds, and the Empire would never forget it. The first counterstrike was just the start. Humanity's fury had awakened, and the galaxy had learned a terrible truth. Humans were not just survivors. They were warriors unlike any the stars had ever seen. Victory had a heavy price. Humanity had struck the Empire's fleets with precision and fury. But no triumph came without sacrifice. On countless colonies and outposts, families mourned, soldiers grieved, and leaders felt the weight of every lost life. Human Command, despite their calm exterior, carried the burden of knowing that every victory meant someone paid in blood. Commander Alara walked through the halls of a partially damaged base. Smoke drifted from broken panels. Alarms still blinked red, and the scent of scorched metal lingered in the air. Engineers and medics moved quickly, repairing what they could, saving what they could, but many losses could not be fixed. Ships that had been the pride of humanity now lay in pieces. Some burned completely, others shattered in space. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Haroun, approached with a heavy heart. "We did it," he said softly, almost as if saying it aloud could make it real. "We broke their fleet. But the casualties are so many." Alara nodded, her face calm but her eyes wet with quiet sorrow. "I know," she said. "Every life lost hurts. Every friend, every pilot, every engineer. We will remember them. But we cannot let this grief stop us. Humanity survives because we do not give in. We fight, even when it costs everything." The Empire had hoped to demoralize humans, to make them surrender, to break their spirit. Instead, every loss hardened their resolve. Every destroyed colony, every fallen ship, Every life lost became fuel for the fire of human determination. Across the battlefield, survivors of the first counterstrike pulled themselves from wreckage, carrying wounded comrades to safety. They were exhausted, their bodies bruised, their spirits tested, but they did not falter. The fire of survival burned brighter than the pain of loss. On one distant colony, a young pilot named Mara stood before the ruined hull of her first ship. Tears streaked her face as she watched the stars, remembering the friends she had lost. "I promised we would protect them," she whispered, gripping the controls of a new vessel. "I will not fail. I will not stop." Her voice was quiet, but her resolve echoed across the galaxy. Humanity's losses were profound, but they were never defeated. Every ship destroyed became a lesson learned. Every ambush, every strike, every pain endured became a weapon in the next battle. Humans had lived for centuries under harsh skies through famine, war, and betrayal. Survival was in their blood. Loss was part of the price they were willing to pay. Even the Empire began to notice the difference. Commanders whispered nervously to each other, wondering how humans could endure such devastation and yet rise stronger. "They are not just surviving," one officer said. "They are thriving in the middle of chaos." "How is this possible?" The answer was simple. Humans did not fight for glory or for territory or for domination. They fought for each other. They fought for family, for friends, for the promise that their loved ones would live. That connection, that bond, made them unstoppable. It gave them strength no weapon could destroy. Alara stood on the observation deck staring at the stars above the damaged colony. Her mind carried the sorrow of every loss, but her heart carried hope. Humanity had paid a heavy price, yes, but the price had forged them into something greater. Every tear, every scar, every sacrifice had prepared them for the war ahead. She spoke softly to herself, a vow that would guide her through the coming battles. "We mourn, we remember, and then we rise. The Empire will learn that every loss they cause only strengthens us. Humanity does not break. Humanity does not bow. Humanity endures." The first cost of defiance had been high. The galaxy had witnessed human fury, but it had also seen human pain. And from that pain, humanity rose stronger, ready to face whatever horrors the Empire would send next. In the quiet of the night, across countless colonies, the message was clear. Humanity would not surrender. Humanity would not yield. And the Empire would soon learn that no amount of fire or steel could ever destroy the human spirit. Months had passed since humanity's first counterstrike. The Empire had expected humans to crumble, to retreat, to beg for mercy. Instead, humans adapted, learned, and grew stronger. Every battle became a lesson, every loss a reason to fight harder. Slowly, the tide of war began to change. Commander Alara stood in the command center of a newly constructed fleet base, staring at the holographic maps of enemy positions. The Empire's fleets, once confident and organized, now moved cautiously, hesitant in human-controlled space. Reports poured in from scouts, pilots, and intelligence officers. Imperial convoys were disrupted. Supply lines were cut. Human strikes were precise, targeted, and relentless. The galaxy, long under the shadow of the Empire, began to notice. "Look at this," said Lieutenant Haroun, pointing at a cluster of reports. "They've lost 5 warships in the last 24 hours alone. And these are just the outer fleets. They're terrified." Alara nodded, her eyes sharp. "They've underestimated us from the start. Every mistake they make, every arrogance they show only gives us more advantage. We do not just survive, we grow stronger with every encounter." News of human victories spread across the stars. Other species, long oppressed by the Empire, watched in awe. A quiet hope began to stir. Perhaps the humans could show them a way to resist. Whispered conversations replaced despair with curiosity. The humans were not only fighting, they were winning. On one distant planet, Mara, the young pilot who had survived the first battles, flew over a cluster of wrecked Imperial ships. Her squadron moved with confidence now, her fear replaced by resolve. "They will remember this day," she said, her voice steady over the comms. "Every fleet they lose reminds them. Humans fight differently. Humans fight to survive. Humans fight to protect what matters." The Empire tried to retaliate. They sent reinforcements, new weapons, and massive fleets to overwhelm humanity. But every attack was met with strategy, coordination, and courage. Humans used their knowledge of space, their ingenuity, and their unbreakable spirit to counter the Empire at every turn. What should have been a simple war of numbers became a test of adaptability, resilience, and heart. Ilara moved through the command center, observing her officers as they worked. The tension was still there. The fear of loss had not vanished, but it was tempered by a growing confidence. Humans had learned to predict, to strike, to protect, and most importantly, to inspire each other. The bond between humans, unmeasured by the Empire's science, became their greatest weapon. Somewhere deep within the Empire, fear began to spread. Admirals whispered nervously to each other. "They are everywhere. How is this possible? They are learning faster than we can destroy them." The Empire realized, slowly and reluctantly, that the humans were not just defending, they were changing the rules of the war itself. Ilara's eyes narrowed as she examined the latest projections. "This is the moment," she said quietly. "We have grown stronger. We have learned. Now we push forward, not for revenge, but to protect our people, our homes, and our future." Human fleets surged through space like a tide, reclaiming systems, disrupting Imperial control, and showing the galaxy that humans were no longer the hunted, they were the hunters. They moved with precision, courage, and an unshakable belief in themselves. And across the galaxy, those who had once feared the Empire began to hope. Perhaps there was a chance to resist, to rise, to survive. Perhaps humanity was the spark the galaxy had been waiting for. The tide of war had shifted. The Empire, once unchallenged, now faced a relentless force it could not predict. Humanity had turned the battle into a war of survival and hope, a war the galaxy would never forget. Ilara looked out over the starfield, her heart steady, her mind focused. "We fight not just to win," she whispered, "but to show that no matter how strong the enemy, humanity endures. And we will never stop." For the first time, the galaxy saw it clearly. Humans were not just survivors. They were a force to be reckoned with. And the Empire, which had underestimated them for centuries, would soon learn the cost of that mistake. The galaxy had changed. The Empire, once proud and untouchable, now trembled. Their fleets were shattered, their supply lines destroyed, their command fractured. Humanity had risen, not as weak colonies, not as scattered survivors, but as a united force no one could ignore. Every system they liberated, every battle they won, was a testament to human courage, ingenuity, and unbreakable spirit. Commander Ilara stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, gazing at the ruins of the Empire's central fleet. The stars beyond seemed endless, but the silence of victory hung heavy. Her crew moved efficiently, tending to ships, rescuing survivors, and preparing for what might come next. But for now, the Empire's power had been broken. A young pilot approached, still shaking from the intensity of the final battle. "Commander, it's over. We've done it. They're gone." Ilara turned, her face calm but eyes full of emotion. "It is over," she said softly, "but we cannot forget what we have lost. Every life, every sacrifice, it brought us here. We honor them by surviving, by protecting the future they believed in." Across the galaxy, humans broadcast their final message. It was simple, clear, and unforgettable. You declared war. That was your mistake. Humanity survives. Humanity fights. Humanity will endure. The words echoed through every corner of space, reaching the remnants of the Empire, every oppressed species, and every human colony that had endured the long, dark years. The message was not just a declaration, it was a lesson, one that could never be ignored. In the aftermath, the Empire's leaders were scattered. Some fled, some surrendered, and some disappeared into the shadows of space. No species that had underestimated humans would forget this lesson. Across the galaxy, stories spread of humans who had survived impossible odds, who had risen when crushed, who had fought with nothing but determination, love, and hope. Back on Earth, in the hidden command centers, Commander Ilara allowed herself a moment of reflection. She thought of every human lost, every city destroyed, every life sacrificed. The grief was deep, but it was tempered by pride. Humanity had survived. Humanity had risen. Humanity had shown the galaxy why no one should underestimate them. She turned to her officers. "This is not the end," she said. "It is a beginning where humanity is no longer silent, no longer hidden, no longer dismissed. We have proven that we are strong, that we are united, that we will endure no matter the enemy." Even the young pilots, many of whom had joined the war unsure of their place, felt the weight of their achievement. They had seen friends fall, ships burn, and worlds tremble, and yet through courage and determination, they had emerged victorious. They had become the symbol of human defiance, hope, and resilience. Somewhere in the remnants of the Empire, Admiral Velis sat quietly in a ruined command hall. His fleets destroyed, his pride shattered, he whispered the words he could never forget. We underestimated them, and that was our downfall. The galaxy learned a new truth that day. Humans were not just survivors, they were warriors, thinkers, and leaders of hope. They did not fight for conquest alone, but for what mattered most: family, friends, and the right to live free. They did not surrender, even when defeat seemed inevitable. They adapted, they endured, and they triumphed. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, humanity looked forward, ready to rebuild, to explore, and to ensure that the lesson of their fight would never be forgotten. The final message of human command echoed in history, not as a warning, but as a testament. If you declare war on humanity, you declare war on survival itself. And humanity will endure. The galaxy fell silent, not in fear, but in respect. Humanity had proven itself. Humanity had survived the impossible, and humanity had changed the stars forever.